Hi, my name is Kirsten Grove, and I'm one of the elementary English teachers here at LCS. Our approach to teaching reading is probably a little different than what you're used to. At LCS, we use what's called an explicit phonics approach to teaching literacy skills. What you're probably familiar with is what most of the United States uses as an approach to teaching literacy, and that is what's called a whole language approach. That would start with learning the alphabet, starting with the capital letters. Here's the capital letter A and the capital letter B and the capital letter C. And then after the students have memorized and learned those capital letters, then the lowercase letters are introduced. From there, sight words are introduced so that we can get students who are very fluid in their reading very quickly. You might even come across some images to go along with it. So A is for apple, and here's an apple to help you remember it. And that's an okay approach for a lot of people. But at LCS, we believe that it's important to really teach every piece of what is needed to know to understand the entire English language. Rather than teaching using the letter names and just in learning the capital letters and lowercase letters, our approach to teaching literacy skills here is using what's called a phonogram. Those are the sounds that the letters or letter combinations would make. So instead of learning the capital letter A, we would learn the phonogram A, ah. And instead of starting with capital letters, we start with lowercase. Why lowercase? Well, if you open a book, you'll see that 95% or more is in lowercase. Wouldn't you be frustrated if 95% of your job suddenly changed and you needed to adapt to it instantly? I bet you would understand that frustration from a child's perspective too when 95% of what they're doing suddenly needs to shift into a lowercase. We start with what is most appropriate and most applicable to what they're reading. When a child is learning to read or to write, they're really learning how to piece what they hear into what's written on the page, whether they're the ones writing it or whether they're reading it. And so all of that works together in the phonics skills. After students in a whole language approach have been learning the letters, then they move on to sight words. And sight words are great for getting a lot of fluency in and learning it nice and quickly. However, it really doesn't lend itself to why things are written the way they are. Instead of teaching sight words, here at LCS we teach the rules for the English language. Wait, you didn't know that English has rules? It does, but a lot of us don't know them, or we only know a small part of them. We really systematically help our students to learn those rules, and it makes English so much easier. For example, let's go back to apple. A is for apple. You could learn that as a sight word, but let's use it as an example for how we teach here at LCS. Now, if our students go to spell that out by syllable and what they're hearing, they would spell a using the letter A, and then in our second syllable, pull, p-ul, the letters P, L. And then if I look at that sight word, A-P-P-L-E, where does the extra P come from and where does the extra E come from? It's very weird. And we're kind of left here with this sense of, well, that's just the way it is. You just have to memorize it. But our students also have great logic skills that are taught through spelling rules. Spelling rules. What? What are those? We have those in English? We do have them in English. They're very, very important to English, and it's a shame that we don't all know them. But our students here are learning them, and that is such a gift. In that first syllable, ah, we know that that's a closed syllable sound, and consonant sounds close the syllables. So we need a consonant there to close that syllable so we don't hear an A pull. So we have a doubled consonant, the P, in order to keep that ah sound. So AP is really in that first syllable. In our second syllable, why is there an E in that word? I bet you know the partial rule that a silent E at the end of a word gets the vowel to say its name. But we just stopped it from saying its name. So what's it doing in our word? This is where logic and reasoning comes in, and this is where the students learn rules to help to support what's going on. Our first graders at LCS can look at that syllable PL and realize it's missing something. It's missing a vowel. For every English syllable, we must have a written vowel. And that is why the silent final E is there at the end of apple. There's so much more to the richness of our program. We're teaching the students about the morphology, how adding prefixes and suffixes changes the meaning of our words. Our students are learning cursive. They're learning the proper formation of print letters. They're learning a huge amount of grammar as well. All of these things go into developing students who have confidence in their reading. We can't have our students memorize every word within the English language. That'd be a pretty impossible feat. Instead, we can give them the tools that are needed so that they can be accomplished and independent readers and writers, and therefore thinkers.